three, as a matter of fact, 2002, 2003, 2004. My friend Biff Henderson, Paul Schaefer, and myself traveled to Afghanistan in 2002, traveled to Iraq 2003, Iraq 2004. We've done shows in Sib, we've done shows in Kuwait, and everywhere else in between. And it was a memorable experience, both good and insightful into what it's like to be deployed there.
This is the first time that I was asked to do something like this, and it's just an honor to be here. On all of our productions, we work with the Easter Seals and try to fill a lot of the jobs with veterans, and they're always the best people on the crew and the nicest people, and I'm just happy to help in any way that I can help.
I grew up in Sacramento, and my mom worked at the Mather Air Force Base. So since I was a kid, we've been part of the working with veterans since I was a kid. So my mom works for the veterans, and my wife works for the veterans as well.
I don't mean to steal Jeff Ross's remarks, but I spoke to him this summer about doing USO shows, and I had never done anything with USO or joining forces before, or had the pleasure to be invited, and he was telling me about his experiences, and I thought if I ever get the chance, I'd love to do that. And then in September, I got to go to Qatar to Al Udeid base there with joining forces, which was an amazing experience. And Jeff also pointed out, stealing more of his thunder, that doing bases here back at home is also incredibly important. There's a lot of people, not just overseas, but here who need shows, who need, you know, a night like this. So it's very cool to be here.
It's exciting because, you know, first of all, I made my network television debut on David-Letterman's show. Now to see him here as the new president is so exciting. I don't think I fully understood the job description of being a comedian until my first USO tour. It was to Iraq in the early days of the occupation there. And I grew up in a catering business. I never knew anyone in uniform. It was all new to me. I didn't know the difference between the government and the military. So it all sort of gelled for me, landing in Baghdad and going to those forward operating bases and seeing people who volunteer. The crowds were much more sophisticated than I'd ever imagined. In war movies, it always seems like a bunch of yahoos. But to see people that understand computers and all sorts of things, and this guy, to me, this is what it's about, giving back in any way I can.
Don't come again. I have a very long story. The year that we went to Iraq, there was a school that had been converted into a military hospital, an emergency hospital. And our liaison, our guide, whomever, took us into a room about half this big, and on a gurney was a man unconscious and clearly had lost a leg, but unconscious. And where you guys are were the surgeons who had been working on him the night before. They had been out going door to door in the neighborhood. Shots rang out. This fellow took what appeared to be mortal wounds, injuries, rounds. Another fellow, when the guy went down, took one right through his face and was there. Clearly, 24 hours later in shock, right through his face. These guys were all Florida National Guard. Busted out his teeth, but yet he's standing there talking like I'm talking, and I'm, before I understand all this, I'm leaning now on this unconscious man. So they said, we've done everything we can do for him here. We're taking him to Germany. And as you all know, that cast quite a pall. It is realism, it's reality. You now know, maybe I should just go back and do my little dog and pony show and leave these people alone. The man recovered, was a double amputee, came back, competed in a para-marathon in a chair, and also did a great deal of skydiving. The other guy who took the round through the cheek joined us all at dinner a year later at 21. He and his wife and their family were all together, and this, what seemed like as grim as a person could experience, turned out to be, as heroic a story as I've ever been to. So that stayed with me.
You know, we went to Afghanistan, and you know, typically when you go into a war zone like that, you tend to bring people that the service members want to see, and like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. But instead, it was myself, Carl Malone, and David Blaine, and you really did see individuals that had been, you know, in the Kush Mountains on the border of Pakistan. The look of just utter disappointment on their faces was worth the entire flight. No, we had an amazing time. But I'll tell you the one moment that is the reason why I continue to try and do these as much as I possibly can is we flew into Bagram, and there were, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 people lined up, and it was incredible that they were there to come see us and come shake hands and tell a story. And in the middle of it, there was some type of alarm or a sound, and everybody put their heads down, and I didn't know what was going on. And I asked the gentleman with me, "Is this what's happening?" He said, "Well, this is the moment they're loading their brothers and sisters onto the plane for Dover," and suddenly the stakes of everything that they were there sacrificing and that they were doing came to bear. And then when it was over, they tried to get back to as much of a sense of normalcy as they possibly could. And that was a moment that struck me just for its sheer humanity, and it made me feel like, well, man, if I can give them just 40 minutes of good distraction time, that'd be worth it. Well, you know, I think for the most part, the military bears the onus of pretty much the entire fight, and it's only a very small percentage. So it's a way to try and bring attention to all the effort that they're giving and the lack of effort that the rest of us are giving. And also, it's just, it makes you feel great to have an audience that seems extremely happy to see you and yet is much braver than you. You know, that's, so it's an incredible experience. And to see their sacrifice and be able to honor that with crappy jokes is truly, you know, it's the only thing we have to give. Unfortunately, this is as motley a crew as you will see assembled. At least, you know, a couple of them seem employable in other businesses, but for the most part, it's American Idol before they send like 5 of us to go home forever. So.